welcome to the Raising Kellen podcast. My name is Marsh Naidoo and I blog at raisingkellen.org, where we curate resources for parents raising children with disabilities. On today's episode 123, I chat with Brandon Scarmardo, who is involved with the MAPS program. This is a Medicaid waiver here in Tennessee. MAPS is a 3-year program that helps individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities on a path to learn skills to working and living independently. This episode is brought to you by Teletherapy Services, your online physical therapy provider. As always, remember the content provided on this podcast is for your information only, and if you seek advice for your specific situation, to contact a trained professional. So grab that cup of coffee, put your feet up, and get ready for some awesome conversation. Well, today I am joined by Brandon Scarmardo. Brandon is manager at the Mental Health and Development Services here in Jackson, Tennessee. Brandon, welcome to the Raising Kellen podcast.
Hey, Marsh. Thank you for having me. This is a wonderful opportunity to hopefully inform a lot of different people of the services that are out there.
Brandon, what I'm really curious about before we even, head into the topic of MAPS is how did you kind of get into this career field?
I've always liked helping people. Any interest survey I've done or gifting survey, strength survey, it's always been behind the scene helps service. But I pursued computers in college because, that's a strong area to pursue for a career. And I got out of college and I was looking for a job, also taking care of my grandfather as he was passing away. And it took some time after that to kind of just heal and then find a job because, bills kept on coming.
Yes, sir, they do. Yeah.
So what started off as maybe a temporary job has now led up to 6 years of learning and being able to walk along with people and help them achieve whatever success they wanted to achieve. I think my heart is for employment. When people get jobs, I think they get so much benefit, not just monetarily, but finding identity, finding purpose, finding even friendships and relationships. And so that right there is just, I don't know, that fills me up.
Well said. And that's the heart of it. And Brandon, now, so you are actually manager at Mental Health and Development Services, which is an organization based out of Jackson. And you all guys actually administer the MAPS program, which is a program run through DDA, the Department of Disability and Aging. Can you please tell us more about the MAPS program, sir?
Yes, ma'am. So the MAPS program, it's a pilot program. So I really want to stress that there is a little bit of freedom in how the services are being offered, which can be both unsure of what you're doing, but at the same time, it allows less restrictions of let's try to do something new. Mm-hmm. And so the approach we took at MHDS is not over supporting the individual. You don't need a cane or a crutch to walk, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So sometimes the individual can become over supported when all they maybe needed was a point in the right direction. But also having that understanding that there are going to be some people who need more services. So I'll say this, the MAPS program is a 3-year program, and it is more geared towards the 15 to 22-year-old crowd. In the first year, you get an opportunity to select up to 3 milestones or outcomes, and also create a virtual community resource map. And I wanted to save that for last because that's probably the backbone of the program. And one thing about that is imagine a virtual filing cabinet with all the information that's relevant to your daughter, your son, to who you are. Is it could show me where your favorite restaurant is, your order, what you like. The information you give can be placed onto there. It can even do scheduling for, I go to this place from 9 to 10, from another place from 10 to 12. So it's been a pretty versatile tool. And it's the one thing that they really focus on. And each milestone kind of points back to that.
So let's say I am someone that's interested in the MAPS program to be as independent as I possibly can. And I want to use technology to help me get there. How is that actually linked up to my life? And then how do you come in to help put all of this together when you work with me?
Well, starting off, we try to do a meet and greet.
Okay.
Before we even agree to services. Sometimes people don't mix. Sometimes it's not a good fit. So from MHES's stance, we try to meet the person, at least have a conversation. You do know what the MAPS program is, what it's not. And then from there's going to be a roundtable meeting. And that's where the person selects the outcome, the milestone for that first year. And this is a 3-year program. So that's one thing I would say as well is it's not a lifelong program. So for me, I try to have accountability. Okay. That we have to make our meetings count. If we're agreeing to meetings, let's make sure we meet them. Other than that, there is a little flexibility in how we meet. Oftentimes with traditional services, it's an in-person meeting. But through the MAPS program, we found that virtual meetings can be just as effective as going out in person in some cases. You'll have some people who may or prefer those in-person meetings. And so we try to be person-centered in that thinking when possible. And we all know that things come up and we could easily switch from an in-person to a virtual if the dog ran out the front door and you're trying to find him and you can't make it to Jackson today, or I can't make it to Dyersburg. That could be a easy switch. But hey, let's just have a phone call real quick.
So the inclusion criteria for this program is that do you have to be a resident of Tennessee? What are the other criteria, Brandon?
Yes, ma'am. I would say first off, you're probably going to need an intellectual or developmental disability.
Okay.
Definitely living in Tennessee. Pursuing independence. I think anyone, it's not just a program to join because it's a program. With the 3 years, once you do those 3 years, you cannot reapply. So make them count. And that's not just the person getting the service, but also the family members. I would say having a family member, or at least one that's really involved, maybe will be present in the meetings, would benefit. That's an ideal candidate from my perspective. The only other thing is it's 3 years leading up to graduation. So that could be 15 if they're going to graduate at 18. But so that's why we really say that 15 to 22-year-old crowd. But really, it's anyone who isn't on the Employment and Community First waiver.
So ECF
service.
Choices.
Okay. ECF choices. You can be on the waiting list, but as long as you're not getting that service, you could get MAPS.
Gotcha. Can vocational rehab work with MAPS, or can they work like concurrently, or are those programs that it's better to keep apart and kind of get a larger spread of time, so to speak?
Yes, ma'am. They definitely can work together. In the MAX program, you have 11 different milestones, and out of the 11, there are 4 milestones that focus on employment. Now, each person, maybe with a VR case or a VR service, there it's a case by case circumstance. That I've had one person who had VR and they had employment services through MAPS. But then I had another young individual who had VR. He tried to get employment services through MAPS, and then we found out don't work with employment no more through MAPS because he had a more full service plan through VR. But that was after the fact. We didn't know that until go ahead and agree to services. If that happens, we can just make an amendment to that first year program. We're going to work on a different milestone.
You mentioned, did you say 11 outcomes?
Yes, ma'am.
4 of them are employment. What are the other outcomes related to, Brandon?
So they have like big umbrellas.
Okay.
And so there's an employment innovation, community innovation, and then independence coaching. And I like to, for simpler terms, work, home, and community. Is how can we get you involved in community? How can we get you independent in the home? And how can we get you working or going to a post-secondary school?
Okay. Can I get a little bit more like meat and potatoes about, say, the community? How would that work if you want us, if we want to get more into the community? How would that work?
Yes, ma'am. Well, there's 3 milestones. The first one is independent travel, and that could be anywhere from, in my opinion, helping someone learn how to cross the street, to helping someone get a driver's license, to riding an Uber if your area would support it. Okay. We do support all of West Tennessee, so there's not an Uber in Decatur. I'm pretty sure Decatur County. But then there's community relationships and community activities. So really encouraging getting out in the community and building contacts that could possibly lead to a job. That's one way. Community activities, just, I guess, ensuring that the person is living a full life. Encouraging, let's try to focus on hobbies and interests. Oftentimes, I found that people don't know what they like. And that's heartbreaking because we all have a preference and an interest in a hobby that maybe we haven't just took the time to find. So having that conversation, helping gather resources, and pointing the individual to pursue that. Of course, at the end of the day, it is their choice.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm not going to twist their arm. Hey, this is available if you want to go to it.
Will clients or individuals most likely be interacting with you, Brandon? Are you the primary point or to-go person in the program at MHDS?
Currently, yes. And the idea is when they come on board, they'll be meeting with me.
Okay.
And hopefully I'm setting a good standard of how services are going to be administered, offered. And we are trying to build out our team. We actually brought on our team an individual last month. So she's being trained, kind of understanding the expectations of how the meetings are going to work. And eventually, as new people come on, I start to, transition caseloads to other employees. But really, the plan as of right now is they start working with me
Mhm.
I kind of give them expectations, uh, and really, hopefully, a good service. I'm not going to be late. I try to be a man of my word, and we try to really take the time to hear and to see and to let the person know that we're here to know you. All we do for one meeting is talk, and I get to know you as a person. That helps the service go so much better.
What are some of the highlights, in your opinion, of this program, Brandon, especially with technology? How are you with the actual technology itself? You did mention the virtual community maps, which I think is an awesome idea. Is there some other technology as well that's utilized within the program?
Yes, ma'am. And there's actually funding available. There is a separate resource allotted for each participant, and that's as of currently it's 2,500, and that allows for enabling technology. An assessment has to be had, and it's usually done prior to the map service, but oftentimes the provider, like myself, would do an assessment. Is having a conversation of how is enabling technology going to benefit independence. The next portion is reaching out to a EP vendor, having another assessment. So there is a step-by-step, I would say checks and balances that we're presenting an idea. The vendor is trying to come up with a solution. And then so there's a lot of collaboration and communication on that end, and then implementing it. And some vendors are really good at being in person and coming out and helping set up those technologies. But to answer your question probably more directly is we've had one young lady who is using a Ring doorbell to increase her home safety. If answering a door just by opening the door or pulling up your phone from the safety of your bedroom, now knowing who's at the front door, we believe that offers a much more safer way to know who's trying to enter into your home. Another one was a smart pill dispenser, where instead of coming to mom and dad for their medication, if it's set up in a smart pill dispenser where you get a notification on your phone that it's time to take your medicine, well, we believe that's removing a support from mom and dad and relying on more a technical support.
What are some of the interesting case studies that come to mind, Brandon, of individuals that you have worked with?
Yes, ma'am. For one young lady, it was those hard conversations that are going to happen. For this young lady, the conversation was, whose responsibility is it to take on the purchase of a vehicle or her phone bill or buying her own groceries when she has a job? So it was asking her what was her idea of how much it costs to live where she lives. And she started to give me a number for a few, but as we started breaking down the monthly portion of it, it was, I don't know. And that was a great moment for her to understand what the MAPS program was. Is it's okay not to know, because that's why Brandon's here. He's going to help me become more informed. But after that, the mom kind of pulled me aside and she's like, Brandon, you had a conversation that I didn't know how to approach. And she said, I really want to thank you. And so the next time meeting with I had heard that she bought her lunch. Her young daughter bought her lunch. She's taken over the internet bill, and I want to say her insurance bill. So really taking on that responsibility has been, in my opinion, success. But it's also having that conversation with the parents that there are some things that maybe you haven't allowed them to do, but they are capable of doing. So we're not just servicing the participant, we're servicing the family as well. Yes, ma'am.
Well, Brandon, I thank you for your time and speaking to us. This has been very informative for parents and for individuals who want to learn more about MAPS and how to enroll. What would be the best course of action to take?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I can provide you with the website, but if you look up on any search engine like Google or Safari, and you just type in DDA or MAPS DDA, you're going to be taken straight to their website page. And under that is a how to apply. And really, it's just a SharePoint or a Microsoft Forms form. And you'll have to have your name, where you live, and then it asks you about your disability. And you will have to show proof of that. One thing it does not matter about your income level. Some services worry about your income level. This has nothing to do with that. It's probably the most. If you want the MAP services, you're going to get the MAP services if you have an intellectual and developmental disability. That's about the only real requirement I can think of. It's just doing that form and then doing it's about a 3-month process of meeting with DDA and then meeting with the Charles Lee Center before you can start to select what provider you want to choose. And you do, or the individual does get the opportunity to pick the provider. So I just want you to know that as well. You get kind of like a snapshot maybe of the provider, what they do, what services they offer as well.
I just want to make a quick note, Brandon, that on episode 94, we did interview Jay Campolino, and he's the Director of Youth and Transitional Services, Department of Disability and Aging. So Jay Campolino talked about the MAPS program when I think it initially came on. So I'm really grateful to see how this is now transitioning year to year, and the program is growing to offer services, especially to our youth, keeping independence, foremost in front of them. So that's something that is a motivation to work towards. So thank you for all you'll do, Brandon, here in West Tennessee. Thank you for listening along with us on the podcast today. And if you are needing more information about MAPS, check out tennessee.gov. We would sincerely appreciate a review and a rating of this podcast on your podcast platform. And as always, remember, get to the top of your mountain. This is Marsh Naidoo signing off.